Hey y'all, it's Jordyn Swingle with season 2 of Let's Just Be Real. I'm so excited to be bringing you a new season with a new set, so many new guests, and stories that you have to hear. So grab your best friend, sit down on your couch, and let's get to it. Well, hi, y'all. I know it's a jump scare compared to last week. Last week, I looked like a 12-year-old. I had no makeup on. And this week, can you even see me? Because I'm wearing camo. And I will give you a heads up, all right? My guest is also wearing camo. No, we did not coordinate it. Yes, we both have blonde hair. I don't want to hear anything about it in the comments, okay? But today is a treat because you are going to meet someone that has known me quite literally all of my life. And you will get some dirt, okay? And I cannot attest to anything that she says, whether or not it's true or false, for legal reasons. So without further ado, one of my greatest friends in the world, Chelsea Dodgen, is here.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm so excited to be here.
Do you know how hard it was for me to not say your maiden name?
It is so weird, right? Like, none of my friends, they are also their maiden name. Like, and they're my phone too, everything.
Okay.
Like, you don't get to be Jordyn Swingle. I'm sorry, Dylan, but you are Jordyn Downey.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was literally
It doesn't
saying
change.
this. He was so offended the other day. I was like, I miss my old last name.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, hate my I was like, no, I just, like,
Yeah.
that is a different version of me.
It
like,
is.
For those of you who don't know, my maiden name was Jordyn Downey.
Yeah.
Downey. And yeah, it just feels like, but me saying it, it doesn't sound like my name anymore.
Yeah, no, I get that. Because, like, well, I dropped my middle name. So, like, Morgan, I dropped it. And
What?
yeah,
So you're Chelsea
Dodgen.
Dodgen.
And, like, my name is, like, like, when I'm on the phone, you know, I talk fast, right?
Yeah.
So it's like SHADDEN, DODGEN. It's like all those hard letters next to each other. Someone's like D as in dog, G. I'm like, oh my God, like, why is it so hard?
Wait, what made you want to drop your middle name?
I love my maiden name. And, like, let's be real, I don't think
that.
Well, and I don't think anyone in my family is going to carry on the name because it's like, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
no one else is having babies. Like, my kids don't have cousins. So someone's got to, like,
so you're going to
carry
get,
it
I
on.
love that.
But also, I don't know why, because my boys don't have it as their middle name. So I guess I carried it on for myself. I don't know.
But yeah.
It works.
Okay, well, when you got married, you didn't know you were going to have
And
two
it's
boys.
easier, like, legal wise too. Like, I didn't, you know, things just still match. It just was easy. So
Oh, okay.
I love it.
Yeah, I do think it's like a trend now, though. I don't know so much when we were. I'm sorry, I totally just bumped the mic. I don't know when we were getting married. I got married when I was like 5. So,
6.
Yeah. Like, everybody took the last name. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But I do think if I had thought about it a little longer, I might have hyphenated it or something.
I would have, I think, too, if I was like because, you know, I also got married at 22. And so, like, had I been
we
like
were so young.
babies. And so, like, before I was like really like invested in my career, like, I got to change my name. Like, I mean, I always joke like my career is like the longer relationship than Zach, but like the same thing. Like, I've been married to both of them like just as long.
Forever. Yeah.
And so, like, it wasn't a big deal at first. So I'm like, oh yeah, like we'll just change it. And then I'm like, yeah, no, now like I think I probably would have at least kept it professionally.
Right?
Don't tell Zach. Is he gonna listen to
I
this?
know. Well, like my social media and stuff when it changed to Swingle, I know it's just so weird. But I guess I didn't think about it. And now it's like, oh, that girl is no longer. Okay, so I alluded to the fact that you and I have known each other for a very long time. Do you know the exact, how old were we when we met?
I actually love this story. Okay, so
Oh, God.
I know you're like your memory. You love it and you hate it. So 2nd grade. Remember you came to our school in 2nd grade? Okay.
Bedford Heights Elementary.
Bedford Heights. And so I remember like you walked up to me and you were like, what's your name? And I'm like, Chelsea. And you're like, you're going to be my friend. And I was like, I remember looking around and I was like, what? And you're like, you're going to be my friend. And you know what I remember? You'd always do like that whole like, I don't be a chicken, I don't be a duck. So kiss my butt. And I was like, no, like you do like
You're a
this dance. I was
weirdo.
like,
You're
not
inappropriate.
appropriate. And so I was like, I can't be her friend, but like, you know, you
But
came
you
in.
didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice. And so I was like,
I picked
dang.
you.
Yes, I was like, there's like Hunger Games over here. Like I was chosen.
You're going to be my friend.
Yes. And so
Oh, my God.
ever since 2nd grade.
That's
Like, isn't
wild.
that crazy?
I was like trying to think back because you know how I bounced around. Like we lived in Bedford and then we moved to Keller. And so I was gone in 4th and 5th grade and came back in 6th. And I was
left
like,
in 3rd because I homeschooled for 3rd. So we were 2nd and then
What?
back to 6th, I guess.
how did I not know this?
Because you were probably in Keller.
True. What? Okay. Wait. Okay. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
we need to talk about that. So also, did you date the boy that I dated in 2nd grade? Did we all date him?
Yes.
You did?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't want to name drop.
I know.
I just saw that person recently at the zoo, by the way. So the person listening, if they're listening, they'll know who it was.
It was you.
It was you. That's so funny because I feel like everybody
we dated a few
him.
of the same boys for like a minute. Like, oh, I like him.
Wait,
I like
who
him.
else did we date? That was the same.
Well, I'm like, Dylan, are you bleeping out names? What's happening right now?
Yeah, can you bleep out names? Who?
Ross. We both liked him for a minute. Is that who we were talking about at first?
Yes, Ross Mitchmore.
Oh, okay, cool. Then yes, we both dated him.
But who else did we both date?
Then I don't know, actually.
We may have kissed the same boys.
Probably. It's okay.
Okay. Let's keep it PG. Listen, I'm a reformed woman, all right?
I mean, yes, totally.
That was
Long
Jordyn
time
Downey.
ago.
We don't
Jordyn,
know her.
who is Jordyn Downey. No one even knows that name anymore. Swingle is everywhere.
It's everywhere. Okay, so we met in second grade. That's really wild. I cannot believe it has been that long. So we grew up in a very, like, I would say small town.
I know, but I didn't realize it was small town until like now, like coming back, and I like literally go to Sprouts and I'm like, oh my God,
I know
running
everybody
into
in
everyone.
here. I know,
Yes.
I know. And that's so much pressure to like go to Walmart on a random Tuesday and look good because you don't know who you're going to walk into.
Oh, I loved living in Wiley because I was like, who is she? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows who she is.
And my worst
like
self every day.
homeless every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
We call her White Trash Chelsea. I don't know if that's PC or not.
They called you that?
No, me and Zach. That's what we. But when I go home, that's what we call her.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So we grew up in this like smallish town where like everybody really didn't know everybody, but it wasn't ever actually small. And it was like a suburb in the middle of Dallas and Fort Worth. And neither of us landed very far from there.
Tried to.
we did, but didn't work. It's like a black hole. It really does suck you back in.
Mm-hmm.
But what was it like growing up in our town? What are your like fond memories? We talked about this, but like we truly had the ideal like upbringing.
Quintessential friend group, upbringing, like everything that you picture. Like people are always like, I would never go back to high school. It was awful. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I would go back tomorrow.
Yeah. Everyone's like, pick any era, like the whole world. Like people are like the 70s. Or I want to see this. And I'm like, high school, 2011, 2010.
2009 was a good one too.
That was so much fun. So I'm like, that was, I don't know, like it was just so fun. I loved, of course, where we lived. Like, and we moved away and I was like, I'll never move into HEB again. And we came back home and I was like, you know, I said it. I was like, Zach, I'm like it's so happy now. Like,
I know.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't live where I grew up. So I at least moved to school districts. I'm like, I can't be like alumni belle. Like, so Birdville, let's go.
Neither of our kids will go to HEB.
No. But like, I loved it here. Like, I mean, obviously we came back, our family's here. It was a lot of fun. I mean, we met really great people. So
we did have the like, I mean, obviously everybody has their own like childhood trauma, whatever. But junior high and high school where we had like 3 guy friends that we were Matt, Jacob, and Hunter, and Collier when he wanted to hang out with us.
Yeah. Collier was like on the fence. He was like, he
wanted to party, but also hang out with us.
Yeah.
Because none of us like really partied. Like
yes.
Well, I didn't. Maybe y'all did, and I didn't know it was happening behind closed doors. I think that because I was like the mom.
Jordyn was the mom. We would be like, I was so scared to tell Jordyn, but like I snuck out of the house last night. Like I'm more scared of Jordyn than my mom sometimes.
Good God. I've always been a control freak, haven't I?
No, you just really cared.
I did care. I really did care. And at that time, like I was like a holy roller. I was like, they're all going to burn in hell.
Literally.
Truly.
Go
just worried about your
midnight with
salvation.
some boy.
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
This is the end.
Yeah. I just remember so many times like your mom and I, like you would be like getting in trouble and I'd be standing next to your mom like, do you hear her?
She's like, she didn't ground you long enough. 1 week? What? 2.
I would have given you 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been maternal for sure. But I just feel like we had the best friend group. And it was so weird because we could, like every weekend we were together, first of all. And we had like bonfires and like we would go watch movies at each other's houses, have swim parties, like go fishing, like
snake hunting. Remember that one?
Hunting, yes.
But I think that what you just said that makes our friendship unique of like amongst our friend group is like we weren't the party group. Like we had like this like core group of friends. We had so much fun in high school. And it wasn't like, yes, like of course, like we talked about like, you know, you did not party.
Occasionally.
Like, you know, occasionally. But you know, like some of us would split off and be like, peace out. But like not even with anyone from our school. Like it was like random parties in Paradise, Texas. And I'm like, where is that even at?
Oh My God, Paradise, Texas.
Yes.
That just brought back so many memories.
So many memories.
Mm.
And so, but what I loved about like our group of friends, and I think what's so funny is like becoming an adult. And I learned as an adult, my friendships, like some of them I made, were more immature than my high school friendships.
Mhm.
Like we had a really mature group of
Yeah, we
friends. And I think of it because I mean, everyone brought something to the table. And I think what was so cool is like you and Margot could be hanging out and y'all could go to her lake house.
Mhm.
And none of us were like,
You didn't
What?
invite me.
yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, like what'd y'all do at the lake house? Like that's so
know.
fun. Like, you know, like
I think about that because I also think it was like, it felt like we had endless amounts of time.
yeah,
I think that's what it boiled down to. Like we always knew like, oh, that'll be next weekend, or like I'll
Yeah.
see him on Tuesday when we hang out at the
Mhm.
volleyball game or what. Like
Yeah.
we were constantly together. We would
Mhm.
always prioritize each other
Yeah.
over our families even
Mhm.
sometimes.
yeah,
And I like want that for my kids so bad. I want the
Yes.
like lifelong, because at any moment, I could call either any of y'all
Yeah.
at this still to this day and be
Mhm.
like, I need this, or I'm in this situation, and immediately there would
Yeah.
be I'm coming. Like,
and it's like, and we were each other's family. Like you would go to my house too, and it'd be
Oh
like,
my God,
oh
I
my,
lived at your
you know,
house.
yeah,
Yeah.
my parents would, my dad would be like, Jordyn, you're being too loud, and I'm like, yeah, you actually are a little
You're
loud,
loud.
like you
Shut
know,
up, Jordyn,
like,
I know.
and it was very much so like
just
yeah.
so family oriented too.
very,
Like we were all at each other's houses all the time. And I strive for that now, like with our own family. I'm like,
Mhm.
I want to create an atmosphere like where they want to be
Yeah.
here. You know what I mean? Because it did prevent us from
Mhm.
going and doing stupid stuff.
Mhm.
Of course, we made dumb decisions all the
Yeah.
time, and our parents probably wanted to wring our necks. But like half the time, we were all sitting in the floor playing Truth or Dare
Yeah.
or watching
Like Kool-Aid
oh my
Pong.
God, Kool-Aid Pong. Oh, I had,
Mark.
and you know what's so funny? I think back to that because I like invited all the kids that like partied and drank and whatever.
yeah,
Everyone had a freaking blast.
so much fun. It was a yes, it
My
was a
whole
blast.
house was covered in Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
but it was so fun.
I think we actually had 2 of them because they were so fun.
Yeah, we did. Oh, we
Your
did. We had
house
one
and
at Margot's
Margot's.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like glow in the dark parties, like just so much, just like
Yes. After
truly
prom?
so fun. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a paint party after prom,
Yes.
and I don't know. I just think it was such a sweet time of like just childish fun, but then also what you were talking about the like depth of relationship.
Mhm.
We all would sit around and talk about everything. Like everybody knew everything about what
Yeah.
everybody was going through, and not
Yeah.
just the girls, like the guys too. And like Jacob and Matt, and like especially Jacob and Matt, I feel like we would just literally drive around and talk, and it was always platonic. Like it was just literally
Yeah.
best friends. Like just
I remember like one time we were like briefly, because we were on the outs very few times. Like
Very
I
few
think
times.
that's like
Yeah.
what he makes so clear is like,
yeah. Whoa.
we were on the outs so few times. 7th grade was rough for us. I remember 7th grade was
Yes.
really hard.
It was just a hard year for
but
me in
like
general.
you're 12.
Yeah.
Like of course it's hard,
Yeah,
right?
my boobs are just coming in. I don't know who I am. Like, what are you talking
Literally.
about? Yeah.
Yes. And then I remember like we had another brief moment, like I think after high school. And I remember we were all like talking one night and we were like, we just miss Jordyn. And all we want to do is drive around with the windows down and like
Mhm.
listen to music. Like
Yeah.
that was so cathartic for all of us.
I know. And it still is.
Yes.
I
Still.
texted Jordyn and I was like, are you okay to like wait in your car until the kids get to
Yeah.
sleep? And one thing I know about both of us is like, that's a vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I'll
Like,
sit in my car
I left 15
with
minutes
the seat
early.
warmers on.
Yes.
Do you know why I am so adamant about having seat warmers in my car?
Why?
Because
my
your
Jetta?
Jetta had the freaking seat warmers in your
Yes.
car.
Yeah.
And that was like luxury to me.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
luxury.
I
So
loved that car.
that was the best car.
We just sold it like 2 years ago.
what?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. One of my friends
Oh
has
my
it.
God.
Still
That's
in the family.
hilarious. That thing was, I will never forget when you got that car. I was like, oh, we have made it.
I was, yes, literally.
Like
this
you
is
were.
it. The convertible moved
Yeah.
aside.
I
'Cause
know.
we
And it's
jammed
so
out that
funny too
convertible.
because like your parents were like middle class. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like they were like rolling in the dough, but
Yeah.
like, you know, I mean, my mom and I, you know, we didn't have no Jetta money.
Yeah.
Okay, baby, I got it.
But I
Remember
had to
my
work
first
for
car?
it. I
know
I
you
do.
did.
I paid
You
for
did.
it. But
And you've
no,
always had a job.
I was gonna say my parents, now I will say, like my payments were like $200 a month, but like I had to pay that car off.
Were you working at Sonic?
At the Bob Moore, so first job,
Oh,
Bob Moore's
yeah.
driving range was my favorite job. So I worked there and then Sonic. So like I did have to pay for it myself.
I would never forget your stacks of cash.
Yeah.
That you would be like, okay, let me.
Apparently, if you work there, you get free balls for life. And Zach's like, can you please go ask them? I'm like, I'm not going to go be like, do you remember when I was
Hey,
17?
15 years ago, I worked
Yeah.
here. That's hilarious.
But yeah, so I'm like, they had a really good balance of like, I got an allowance every week, but I don't feel like, I know I was selfish for a while, but I feel like I was really self-aware and like,
Yeah, you were.
I got a little entitled but I knew it.
Yeah.
But I got an allowance, but I also had to work. And my allowance is like every pay period. I don't know how it was. There was at least $20 on the counter. We would know like, oh, there's our money. And
Yeah.
and my dad would be like, Cody's would be gone before he got it. And then mine would be like, I would last like for like 6 months. And he'd go, how do you do that? So they also made me have a good balance and
I
working
appreciate
for
that
it.
about them. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like I think often about like how I want to raise my kids to have work ethic, because they definitely, like, you always had a job.
Yeah.
And I always had a job, and I love to work, and I feel like you do too.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that, like, if you wanted something nice, like, you were going to have to figure out how you were going to get it, you know, even though like they probably could have afforded it and those kind of things, but like they wanted you to work for it.
I had a jackhammer up the tile in the bathroom of their shower. Well, I mean, I didn't have to, I chose to, but my dad was like, Cody, wake up. Like, we're going to jack out this like tile in the shower.
Yeah.
I'll pay you $100. Like, let's go. And Cody's like, I want to sleep. And I like came out my door and I was like, I really want an iPod. Can I do it? And my dad was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I did it. And of course I got paid double because he's like, initiative here.
Yeah.
He's like, let's go buy your iPod. And I was like, oh, I can't spend the money. And we went and put it in savings. My dad's like, this child. So then he also I put it in savings and he's like, I'm buying her an iPod. So then he went and bought me one.
But that's sweet. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I need to do better at that, because I be just buying my kids stuff.
Same. Literally. I'm like, whatever you want, here you go.
I know. God, it's so hard.
But we do like no toy November. Like we have months where we like no toy. We'll pick a month. And so Pax will be like, is July over yet? And I'm like, we got like 2 more days. And he's like, are we buying a toy like August on the like first day of August? Yeah. And I'm like, sure. So we'll do like July. Yeah. So we'll do like
I need to implement that with my own self first, and then then move on to the kids. Yeah. Okay. So wait, let me review my questions, because I have wrote out really good ones for you, and I don't want to skip over them. And I know that you have your answers written down. Okay, because I feel like we could just yap constantly. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, so we were literally talking about this off camera earlier, that lately it's been really challenging for me with my kids and getting them to eat. And one thing that I always like loved about your house was like, first of all, your mom was always sending us to Market Street to get like green beans or some odd thing that she forgot.
Made fun of me, and I was like, wait, what's wrong with shopping at Market Street? Like, I had no idea. I'm like, isn't that where everyone shops?
We are at Walmart. What are you talking about? She's like, and Market Street has this like bar of food. Every time we walk in there, I would be like, oh my God. Yes. Oh, yes, I forgot. Yes. And they would always cut you fruit. And you were like a VIP when
Robert,
we went in there.
Yes, the produce like manager. He was awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He cut us papaya, I'm pretty sure. But your family was super like healthy. Yeah. Like y'all always had healthy food. You always had like those kind of things. But I'm in the season right now where I'm trying to balance like, okay, I had childhood cancer. There's a lot of fear tied to that. There's a lot of like being cognizant of what we eat, and like there's just chemicals in all the food now. And so like trying to teach my children about what it means to like honor your body and like honor God with your body and like make conscious decisions, but also like enjoy things. Yeah. So you grew up in a really health conscious home. Like what are the good and bad that you took from that?
So I didn't have canned soup until college. Do you remember when we bought that Campbell's that to go, and I'm like, do I put this in the microwave?
Oh,
do you remember that?
I totally forgot.
So then, and whenever I was 16, the first thing I did when I got my driver's license was I drove to that Kroger by my house and bought like Peter Pan peanut butter. And I went home and ate it by the spoonful because she wouldn't buy me real peanut butter.
She would buy like
almond butter stuff and almond milk. And it's so funny because now, like, of course I appreciate it. But like growing up, I was like, my friends have like these dinners and they put them in the microwave and then it becomes a brownie. Like, I want that. My mom was like, Chelsea, I make you homemade cookies from scratch. Like,
and they are
so incredible. Much better. Yeah. And I'm
like, why?
But I want the banquet brownie. And so I didn't understand, like, of course, at the time, what she was doing for us and our family. And so I think, which I really appreciate all of that, but I didn't feel like I had the balance of like, yeah, we would go get Brahms and stuff occasionally. So it's not like that, but like, I think I needed a little bit more balance and not so much restriction because you just want to like kind of enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
and then, you know, they're all doing the best they can with what they have and the knowledge at the time.
Yeah, of course.
But like what we do now, like, I mean, our mindset with Pax is, of course, like we live on this like fence of like, we want to live this like holistic, natural lifestyle as possible. But like, it's like the 80-20 rule where it's like, it's just about balance. Like we teach them life's about balance. Like we do some nights where we have like a sugar dinner and it's like cereal and, you know, we buy the healthier cereal. It helps. Like if you shop at like Sprouts too, like they have less like things that pull their attention away. Yeah. But again, sometimes Zach wanted him to try peanut butter Captain Crunch. So we're like, we go get it. And then it's like, it's going to be a while before you have that again though. And so we'll teach him like, this is like what a balanced meal looks like. You need this in a meal. Like, this is how you grow. Like, you say you want to be big and tall like dad. Like, this is how we get you there.
You nourish your body with food.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a challenge because I don't want to like perpetuate anything onto her, you know, and especially girls. Like, we want to just be really, really aware of like how we talk about our bodies, how we talk about food and those kind of things. And I feel like y'all had a good model in your house, but I do remember there were times where I was like, oh, she just wants an Oreo. You know what I mean?
Just want an Oreo.
Like, sis just needs an Oreo.
Yes. And I remember waking up one day and I'm like, oh my God, there's ice cream in the freezer. And it was like one of my friends, I like got it and put it in the freezer. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Aww.
You know, because I'm like, I just want ice cream. I just want an Oreo. And you want to be able to have that. And so now like I will like kind of overindulge because like I just want to have it and I can, and I'm an adult.
I know. You know, the first time that I feel like I realized like, oh, I can buy anything that I want. Anything.
Yeah.
Like I can go to Target and just get like all the sugar was wild. Like I think when I first got my driver's license, I was like, oh my God, I can go eat whatever I want if I have the money. Yeah. Yeah. It's a freedom thing too. But yeah, teaching our kids balance has been something that I like because I'm so black and white.
But I'm like,
you know me. I'm like,
yes, but I'm like, I also want them to be kids. Like, you know, like I want them to occasionally get the Moana goldfish or the SpiderMan macaroni because like that is fun. And it's only for a short time in their life that they're going to want that or like want light up shoes. Because I used to even be like with clothes.
Oh
like,
God, light up shoes.
I know.
I can't.
I haven't bought them yet, but I'm like, there's some clothes I used to be like, I am not, Zach, I'm not putting my kids in that. And then I'm just like, he's like literally a child. This is all he wants to wear.
Know,
like,
God, now I need to buy Campbell light up shoes.
So then I'm like, whatever. He can wear
I'm such a beige mom.
Yeah.
I am. Like, I don't want like SpiderMan Betting.
Oh, I know. I don't either. That's really hard.
Like, I'll buy him like a blanket. Like
Pax wants me to paint his room purple.
You better.
Dark purple. I was like, oh, okay.
Like,
we'll talk about that. Like,
I know.
Let's wait a few months. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Are we fully committed to that decision? Yeah. And I think that's just the balance. And like we just said, like our parents did the best that they could with what they knew how, and we're doing the best that we can. And the reality is like, we're going to screw them up some way.
That's all I think about because I'm like, Pax wanted to be like Moana for Halloween last year. So I'm like, I
remember seeing those
you
pictures.
can be Moana.
Yes.
You can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's going to be like 25 and be like, why would you let me be Moana? You know what I mean? And like, you think you're doing the right thing. So Zach and I, like, we always talk about like, what is it going to be that like in 20 years that they're having kids and they're like, what did you do to me?
Do you know what mine is?
What?
That my mom bought me a Jaw Rule CD when I was 9 years old. I'm like, Kelly, did you
listen to the lyrics?
You think about listening to those lyrics? And she was like, what? You loved it. Yeah. And I'm like, you're right. Like, you're right.
It calms you down.
There's going to be things. I kept you away from the, chaos all the time. But like, she did the best that she could with what she knew. And we're doing the same thing. So, but it is beneficial to hear from other moms of like, it's okay to let them be normal and like eat the things occasionally. And the balance is what's challenging, especially with our lifestyle right now. We're so busy and so are you all. And there's it's easy to go through Chick-fil-A 7 times a week. You know what I mean? It is.
But I'm like, and it's easy for me though, because I'm like, I have celiac, so I can't just go.
True.
That is actually like the biggest blessing because we can't just go get fast food.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong. Like we get Starbucks for them for breakfast like 4 times a week because it's so easy. So we do those things too. But I'm like, I think it's also like not stressing yourself out so much because they're going to be fine. Like,
I know.
You know, like they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And they're also, whatever you do now, they're going to probably go do totally opposite when they're 25 and be like, I'm not going to do that. But when you lay the foundation and you give them the balance of what
I do think that your parents laid a good foundation of like food for you though. Like,
food,
like, I mean, there were probably some extremes, but like the food that y'all had in your house was like gourmet.
Yeah.
Like your mother was a chef in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like sister can cook and cook healthily.
Yeah.
And that's something that I envy. And I'm pulling from those memories. And my mom's a great cook too. And like would come up, she would always try to eat healthy. My mom was always, health conscious to a certain degree and image conscious in those things. And I definitely took on those traits. But for more than anything, I need to just be aware of myself that like, oh, this is based in fear.
Yeah.
And I can't live in that.
Yeah.
So that's challenging. Okay. So you've mentioned your son, Paxton. You have 2 children.
I have 2. I know Pax, yes.
We talk about Pax a lot. So you married Zach. You were 22 years old. Mm-hmm. How long after marrying Zach did you have Paxton?
6 years.
You were married 6 years before you had a child?
Our goal is to be married for 7 years before we had kids. Like we wanted to like spend
time.
Were you
on birth control?
No.
Okay.
What is it? The
Pull out game strong?
I was like, what can I say? These are PG, so I don't know what to say.
Let's be real. We are all adults here.
That's what I'm so amazed. Yeah, literally for our entire relationship. Because I did birth control for like 2 months, and Zach and we were both like, I couldn't handle it. I was going crazy.
Do you want to know a fun fact?
Mm-hmm.
Fact check me on this, people of the interwebs.
Yeah.
I listened to this girl who Bailey Syrian. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
She's a makeup artist, and she does murder makeup and Mondays.
Oh.
She also did this like segment called Dark History, where she breaks down things that like are normal to us and their origins.
Oh.
And apparently birth control was started in Puerto Rico and tested on like this entire population of women and gave them like horrific side effects. Like,
I'm surprised.
Like
suppressing your hormones. Not good.
Basically not neutered. What is it called?
Like
sterilized.
Okay.
Sterilized a bunch of women, gave them a bunch of cancer. Like some of them went insane and like wild. So if you look into that, birth control actually is probably not very good for you. But anyways, so you get married. You're married 6 years. I made it 3 months.
I know. And we don't pull and pray anymore, though. We have a vasectomy because I'm like, I am done having kids.
Same.
So,
yeah, no, we had our situation.
We only did that whenever.
Situated,
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, yours is a little different.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 6 years. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to like travel and do all the things.
We traveled and like we made like no money. Like we put all of our travels on a credit card. And
I love it.
I was like asking my parents, I was like, so how do I pay this off? And my dad's like, he's like, you need to get a 0% credit card. And like, I had to pay credit card off with a credit card. And it's like, I remember you saying that people that do that like aren't financially smart with their money. And he's like, so let's do this and move forward. Yeah. And I was like, got it. But like, don't regret it. Like we had so much fun. We went to so many places. I can't remember. We went to like 16 states, 2 or 3. I mean, they weren't like wild countries. It was like Canada, like Mexico. Like we didn't travel like overseas, but we did a lot of fun stuff. And I'm like, people are always like, you got to live together before you get married. I'm like, I don't think so, but travel together because that will teach you a lot about someone. Exactly. Because like, you go on vacation with me, like we have an itinerary, we have somewhere to be. Yeah. And so I think it teaches you a lot and we had so much fun together.
I love that.
Yeah, I wanted to like get to that 7-year itch because, make sure we're like, if we have any issues like we have issues, we can work them out. Yeah. Though isn't it for the long haul? Like Zach's pretty awesome. I feel like. But I was just like, I want to get there before we add a kid into the mix and make sure that like we have a good solid foundation.
You knew Zach was your husband though.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Obsessed.
I think I vividly remember, maybe I'm wrong, but I have a memory of us being in College Station and you like coming in one day and be like, I'm going to marry him.
And then my parents actually told him to marry me. They he didn't ask for permission. They were like, we're ready for her to move out because my parents are obsessed with each other. And my dad's like, we're ready for her to move out. And we can't do that until y'all get married because we're not going to let her live with you and then we'll pay for her college. Yeah. If y'all don't, it was a whole thing. God. And so my dad was like, he's like, can you please get married now? And Zach's like, okay. So he went and bought a ring the next week. And I'm like, that's all that had to happen. And then we got engaged. So.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you listening and you're like, wait, Jordyn, why do you not know these things? We had a tiny lapse in our friendship. Yeah. Right? Wait, how many years?
10 years.
10 years?
I know. It was too long.
That's sad. That makes me sad. I don't like thinking about it.
I don't either.
But it was literally something stupid. Like
it was so silly.
It was so silly. And you look back and you're like, I wish I would have looked forward and known how silly it was. Yeah. And like not had to go 10 years without knowing each other.
And what held me back from ever like reaching out to reconcile too, it's like, it's hard to like, you have all these new friends in your life and it's hard to be like, I was in your life for so long and to come in and now be like an outsider looking in and not know these things. So it's like, I don't know if that's a pride thing or just like wounded. I don't know what that
I think
label
it's
would
normal.
be, but it was
I think it's normal. I think
it was hard.
And I think the feeling's mutual or it's like you and Margot and I had dinner and I was like thinking about like, God, there's so much I don't know. And that makes me sad. But
we're like hard watching this reconciliation.
Oh yeah, girl, we are.
Everyone's like, what? Jordyn and Chelsea back together?
Oh my God.
We're not ready.
Prepare the troops.
HEB's not ready.
They sure ain't. They're like, I thought we had seen the last of it. No, you haven't. Yeah, but I also think like where it matters, like the foundation's still there. Mm-hmm. And there's too much time that we had so much time before we had our falling out that like, you pick up where you left off.
But then I think that the reconciliation is literally like like you said, the foundation, because it was, hey, how are you? Hey, like let's talk about what happened. Yeah. We talked about it.
I was sat at the table for all of 45 seconds before I was like, you ready to air it out?
Literally.
Let's do it.
Let's go. And I was like, it was like emotional and like it was so healing. And like when I remember going home and just being like, wow, like it just felt like a missing piece in my life for so long. So for me, it was like super healing and like loved it.
I love that. And I think that just like if you're a woman and you're listening to this podcast and you're in your 30s, like friends are hard to come by, especially good friends. Like put your pride aside and reach out and just like bear it all. And yeah, because you never know what you're missing out on, you know? And now I'm like so thankful that I can just pick up the phone and talk to y'all and not be like looking from afar, watching your life on Instagram, like, oh, I don't know these people or those kind of things. And yeah, so, but I still think it's so sweet because I have those memories of you and Zach in the beginning and like you being so absolutely in love with him and him being so absolutely in love with you. Yeah. And it was such a sweet thing to like watch you be just like, I don't know, you were just so happy. Yeah. And you seem like you're still that, like he really is your best friend. Yeah. I think we have that in common in our relationships. Like Dylan is truly the only person in the world that I like don't get tired of being around.
Yeah. COVID, which obviously was awful, but Zach and I were like, oh my God, we had to quarantine our house. We were made for this.
Same.
Oh my God. We loved every second. We're like, don't bring us back out.
I was pissed when we had to go back to work. I was like, what do you mean? Like we were in our jammies. We were just doing what we wanted to do. I think that also like really tricked us into being like, oh, we're going to work from home for each other and ourselves for life. Because like, this is amazing. Yeah. So, okay. So you get married. You wait 6 years, you get pregnant. What were your initial thoughts when you got pregnant?
I was so unhappy. So we like went through like, oh, do we have kids? Do we not have kids? Like we didn't even know if we wanted kids. And I'm super thoughtful and I'm also super rash. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just try and see what happens. And Zach was like, okay. And then we went on a cruise and I was like, I'm not ready to have kids. And we're on our cruise Saturday. It's our last day. And I go to the bathroom because I'm like, it's, you know, that time. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And Zach was like, do you have a pregnancy test? And I was like, no.
No, I just know.
I know my body. And he's like, whatever. So we go home the next day and I take a pregnancy test and I was like, here you go. And he's like, you're pregnant? And I'm like, I told you yesterday. And so he was like, and I was so bummed because I wasn't excited. Like I was not excited to be pregnant. I was like, I don't even know if like, I'm not ready for this. Yeah. And so I wasn't excited to be pregnant.
Yeah. And I think that it's good to normalize that.
Yeah, I can normalize postpartum for you real quick because we had Paxton after, you know, everyone tells you like you're going to have this baby and you're going to like the feeling we can't explain. So I had Paxton and I'm like,
when's that feeling coming?
Yeah. Like and he's laying on me and I'm like, what am I expecting? It's not here yet. Right. And so it was about 6 weeks and like Zach and I were on a walk and I'm, you know, like Paxton, like, you know, I nursed him, like I held him for every nap. Like I never set him down.
Of course.
And I asked my mom, he's like, I go, so like, do you like him? And he was like, oh, who? And I was like,
we're so similar, dear God.
Yeah, I was like, the baby. And he goes, oh, he's like, I've actually kind of been thinking the same thing. Like, I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about him. And I was like,
I don't know this human that just came out of me.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. So like the connection's not there, but like, and I don't remember when it came, but it came. And like now Paxton, I'm like, God, if I could spend every day with this kid because he is such a gift.
I know.
I would.
Yeah.
So it took a while. And it's so funny because when I had Baker, the feeling was immediate. Like, and I think it's because I knew what to expect and I was excited.
Yeah.
So anyways, and you know, I think is actually really interesting, which I know we'll probably get into, but like, so I grieved a lot during my pregnancy and grief is associated with the lung. And then he ends up having a lung disease, which it's not like it's connected.
Oh, wow. No,
but I always
like,
was just
like your body already knew.
It was just so odd. I was like, it was very interesting.
I'm a full on believer that like your body holds on to emotions in like certain areas. Like I want to go somewhere they like cleanse me of my emotions.
Literally.
Make me a robot. Yeah. But yeah, I felt that way at first with Ellie because when Ellie was born, I was immediately like in the hospital and not well. And so I didn't really get to bond with her the way that everybody else did. Yeah. And not to mention like, I don't know this person.
Right.
Like I know my husband. Yeah. I love him. Like I'm excited that this child looks like this. Of course I loved her. Like the maternal love was
and
there.
like the need to protect them is there. Of course.
But it's like, I always met her needs, but like the connection. Right. Well, I remember it being, I will never forget. It was like a Saturday morning. She was born in August. It must have been a Saturday morning, like in early September. And I had the back doors open and Dylan was asleep. And it was just her and I in the kitchen. And she started like smiling and cooing. Yeah. And I just sat there and I cried. I was like, oh my God, like you're incredible. Yeah. And it's just, you know, it's hard and you're sleep deprived and your freaking
survival
vagina
mode.
hurts.
Yes.
And you're like, God, this is, and I'm still wearing
and
diapers.
Like, I smell. I'm like, I just smell gross all the time.
I'm sweating. Golly. Yeah. It's just, it's not as glamorous as everyone says it is. Is it worth it? Infinitely.
Totally.
But like, Yeah, I think it's totally normal to be like, oh, I didn't really like them at first.
Yeah.
Like it's just like an apathy of like, oh, okay, well, you're a baby and great. And
You're
now
here.
what?
Yeah.
Like you're just going to lay there and I'm going to watch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like you mentioned earlier, Paxton turns out to have cystic fibrosis. When did you guys find out about his diagnosis?
So he was born in January of 2020 and then COVID happened, of course, in March. So it's kind of a long story, but like his PKU came back normal for CF and we're like, oh, Zach's a carrier. We knew that because of 23andMe. Like he's just a carrier.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that 23andMe can pick up that.
It can pick up on the most common variants.
Oh, okay.
So that's what made our, take so long. And so we do like another PKU and it's like, oh, it's still abnormal. And everyone's assuring us like he does not have CF. He's not presenting as if he does. He's okay. Meanwhile, I'm back at work. Zach is staying home with him because it's COVID. He's working from home and he's picking up on like some of these things aren't normal. That everyone's brushing it off. Like, no one's like picking up on the fact that like we're going through these tests and he has these signs that are presenting, but they're brushing it off. Zach has the most incredible dad intuition. It is amazing. And so we do like sweat tests. They came back moderate. Do another sweat test. It comes up like moderate and highly elevated because they're measuring the sodium chloride in his sweat. And so then it's COVID again, lockdown. We're not taking him to a hospital to get a swab and DNA. So come December, our pediatrician's like, the state won't get off our back. Go get him tested. We have to do the DNA test. So Paxton, it was my birthday. We went and spent the day together, did his test because I'm over here like, let me just make the state of Texas happy, do the test. And then 3 weeks later, like right before, because our birthdays are like 3 weeks apart. He was born January 14th. You, Margo, and Paxton are all buddies. I love that. And my dad. And so he is born and we got his diagnosis like right before his first birthday. And I remember just like being in complete shock because I'm like, we were going through this for a year, but everyone said he doesn't have it. And so his genetic counselors who called me, and I just remember like that to me, that's the hardest thing I've ever been through.
Of course,
I started crying and she was like, so we're talking and the best advice that for her that she gave me was like, you just, like you have permission to grieve. Do you know that? And I'm like, I don't know that actually. Cause it's like, you feel guilty because I have this like perfect baby that I'm like now obsessed with. And then all you're thinking is his future and his life. Like you don't want him to go through any struggles or any tribulations of, like you're going to go through something, but I don't want him to have something like this that he has to go through. And so when she said that, it was really helpful for like the healing process of it. But yeah, it was really hard.
How do you feel like people showed up for you? I want to, obviously everyone shows up initially.
Yeah.
What has it been like walking this diagnosis out with like people in your life?
Yeah. Initially, like one thing, because I know what people never know what to do for people when they go through something. And it's always like, tell me what you want me to do. And you're like,
I don't know.
Tell you.
Yeah, do my laundry.
Yeah. Like literally. And this other thing is like, make a list of how people can be there and like show up for you. That way, when something does happen, they know how to be there. But, family, they brought us dinner and flowers. My cousin like full on researched cystic fibrosis and was like, I'm no expert, but if you need someone to talk to, you don't have to explain it to me and I'm ready to listen. And that was like the best gift ever because I was like, okay, thank you. And she's like, and also don't do any research because of course it looks awful. And she was like, I know everything I need to know and wait to go to the doctors. And so we just had a lot of good support during that time. I just don't think that it's an invisible illness, essentially. He presents like, you're like, there's nothing wrong with him.
Right.
But it's so hard because it's like, every day, like we do vest and mask treatments in the morning and the night.
So he gets up and he puts on a weighted vest, right?
It's not a weighted vest. It's called chest physiotherapy. So he puts on this vest and then he has like this big machine and it shoots air in it because it's breaking up the mucus in his lungs.
Got it. Okay.
And then because essentially what it does is it clogs up like, the glands in your body. And it's considered a life-threatening illness, infecting typically your lungs. He fortunately has what's called a mild case, but then again, they all present differently and it's a progressive disease. So he does that. He's been doing that since he was 1 and he puts on his little mask and he does his medicine. He does his module. Like he can tell you what medicines he takes. He can tell you all about it. So we just try to really empower him and let him know.
He's incredibly smart.
Yes.
Like
he's smarter than me. I swear.
He walked up, we saw the event that we were hosting and he walked up and was like talking. And I was like, oh my God, he's so like well-spoken and carries himself so well and was looking directly in my eyes when he spoke to me. I was like, oh, you're a genius. Like
he gets Zach's brains like through and through. Zach's so smart. I'm like, you were like Zach's child. Like completely.
I love that.
But yeah, so he does that. And I'm like, and he's so resilient. Like he doesn't know any different. And then of course he has his little brother that doesn't have it, but Zach jokes and he's like, Chelsea tried so hard to give it to him because Baker has Chelsea's gene, but you know, I pulled through. I didn't give it to him, like just joking and stuff. But yeah, he just does it every day. It's all he knows. And yeah.
Yeah. So walk me through like, so it's normal now. Like you live with this. How do you personally manage like your emotional well-being? Because it still is like emotionally taxing.
It's emotionally taxing because, you know, it's like when you're washing bottles and, you know, like one day I won't have this drying rack here for pump parts. It's like I always have this space on my counter that will always be breathing treatments because we're always basically washing your mom and you're doing bottles and pump parts. That's our everyday. So we're always having to wash those, or we're always having to make sure that he's taken care of. Anytime like if he like has like a running nose or he's breathing weird, we're over here like monitoring his breath, counting, putting the pulse ox on him. Like we're just panicking because he's been hospitalized a few times. And I should probably have done like some therapy and probably need to do some more because it is hard. And I mean, really it's communicating with Zach and I'm like, you know, I'm tapped out. Like this is a lot. Like we need to take a break. And because, you know, he'd have times where he would like fight his treatment and you're over here like, you need this to be healthy, but you also can't resent it. So then what do you do?
And there's no like manual.
No, there's not. We have a great support team. He goes to clinic every quarter. And so I'll just call their child psychologist. She's amazing. And I'm like, talk to me. And she's like, don't fight him. It's going to be okay. So like, we just don't fight him on it. And so I'll talk through with them and just, you know, like with where we're at. But I feel like it's just the cards that we were dealt. And like, we know how to manage and maintain it now. And I wouldn't take him any different. Like he's amazing and it's going to be part of his story. But would I take it away? Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I would take away all the suffering that any of my children or any of the things that they go through. Yeah, because that's the maternal aspect in you is like, I would literally run into traffic if it meant you never had to feel any pain. Yeah. And I think that's why moms and dads are so wonderful. They're superheroes. Yeah. Truly. You are. It's your superpower. I have a lot of respect for you because I think that you handle it in a way that empowers Paxton to do the hard things. And my mom was a lot like that, where it was like, look, you're going to live a normal life. Like you are not going to sit down and pity yourself and look down your nose and, you know, be sad all the time. Take a moment, feel it, move on, keep going. And I would accredit a lot of that to why I am as independent and okay with the situation and the cards that I've been dealt, you know. And obviously, you know, faith plays a lot in mine, but it's empowering and encouraging to see you step into a role that no one prepared you for. Motherhood in and of itself is challenging enough. But for you to out loud say like, yeah, I might need counseling occasionally. Like this is hard, you know, and I hold my breath every time I drop my kids off at school. You know what I mean? And they're perfectly healthy. So to imagine what you're carrying with, you know, the common cold. Yeah. Someone sneezes wrong and he could be in the hospital.
Oh my God. Well, like someone will be coughing in public and like, and Zach's a little bit more high strung than I am. Like I'm very like, it's fine. And Zach's over here like, why are they out in public if they're coughing? And I'm like, babe, you also cough in public too. Yes. Like, you know, but and it was a while, it would be like really intense where like coughing and seeming
I cannot imagine with COVID.
Yeah. It was very scary because I'm like, he was hospitalized twice for parainfluenza, which is like a common cold essentially. And it's scary. I mean, he was like 2 and 3 both times that it happened. And it's scary.
It is scary. It is scary. But excuse me as I cough. Yeah, but I think that the way that you guys educate him and empower him is huge. And I would say that to any mom. Like I'm not a mom of a child with a chronic illness, but I was a child with an illness and I wear a prosthetic leg. And the thing that I think allows me to have the freedom to talk about it the way that I do is because my mom was always so open about it. And like, obviously mine is different. Like you were talking about, the illness is silent. Like you look at him, you can't tell, but there's going to be relationships and people that he wants to let in on that and giving him the vocabulary at a young age to say, this is what I go through and to articulate, I'm having a bad day emotionally. I don't want this disease. I don't want to carry this with me. I don't always want to walk with a prosthetic leg. You know, those things that are, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. This choice was made for me on my behalf.
And what's hard is because obviously his brother doesn't have it. So we've had a few times where it's like, hey, Baker's like, you keep saying he's a big boy now, right? And you're like, yeah. And he's like, is it time to go get his vest and mask? And you're like, oh no. And so we have to talk through like, mommy has celiac, so she eats gluten-free. Like, everything's different. Or it's like, he asked, he's like, well, how did I even get this? If Baker doesn't have it, like, how did I get it? And these conversations were like 8 months apart. So, we explained to him like, mommy has this gene, daddy has this gene, and they both go to you. And he's like, so you wanted to give it to me and you didn't want to give this to Baker? And you're like, also, love the critical thinking that we're doing here. Yeah, like, amazing.
Reducing down to what you, I agree.
But
it's not also, that clean cut.
Yeah, you're like, no, we like didn't want to give this to you. And he's like, then why would I have it? And so you're doing that. And we teach him play therapy. And because he's very much like, like I have it. He doesn't think anything different of it that we know of. But like, I also want to make sure that he is okay with it. So we just play therapy. And do you feel like play therapy has been beneficial for him? I feel like it has.
Yeah. We talked about this, that Campbell, obviously Campbell doesn't have a chronic illness, but his adoption and, us being a multiracial family has been something that has been challenging for him lately. And we've talked about a lot about like his anger of, why am I the only one that is X, Y, and Z? Yeah. And we do a lot like what you do, where it's like, okay, look at mommy and daddy, right? Daddy has gray hair. Does anyone else in our family have gray hair? No. Ellie has heterochromia, where her one eye is brown and one eye is blue.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
When you look at her, look really close and you'll notice it. Hey. And so we like point out the differences, and everyone, mommy has one leg and Ellie has this, blah, 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 and how we're all created differently and all these things. And so, but like allowing them the space to be like, why? Yeah. And question it and not immediately shut it down.
Yeah. Or, it's like allow them to feel it in the process. Cause it's like, I think it's so easy for us in Cam's case to be like, you were chosen though. Like we chose you.
Yes.
But he's like,
I didn't get a choice.
Yeah. He's like, I still have a whole other family that like, so I think it's so easy for that. Like, cause there's, I feel like so much toxic positivity. Cause we got that with Paxter to be like, at least he doesn't have cancer. And I'm like,
okay. Yeah. But cancer, there's a cure and we can move on from it. Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Like, and so you experience, and people, again, they're just trying their best. They don't know what to say, but like you have to be like, just allow people the space to feel their feelings and allow our children to do that too.
Yeah. I've had this conversation with our friend Ashley, whose daughter Perry is going through cancer, and just like, her educating us on what's beneficial is really helpful, and also exhausting for her to constantly have to educate, right? Like, sometimes it's not your job to educate the people. Like, just like learn, learn on your own, do your own research, and then come back to me.
Show up.
But it is helpful to hear, like, these are the things that would be helpful for you to say to me. And these are the things that are triggering or make me feel like you don't hear what I'm saying. Yeah. And people don't know, you know what I mean? Nobody knows. I didn't know anything about CF until we started talking about it. And I started researching some stuff and looking into it. And, and it's hard because everyone around you is walking with something silently that they carry. And you don't know until you know. Yeah. And then like you're faced with the opportunity of, okay, how do I care for them?
Totally. And I think that's so hard too, because I'm like, it gave me more perspective. Having kids like does a whole shift in you that you can't even, if you don't have like it, you just can't experience it otherwise. Right. And so I would be like, man, it gave me more understanding, but less understanding. Cause I'm like, people are like, oh my gosh, I'm like running late. And I'm like, really? Like you got to get like 2 kids up, breastfeed, and do a vest and a mask and make breakfast and get them all dressed. And like, and you just have yourself and you live 10 minutes away.
You're like, really?
Yeah. Like, and it gave me like, for a while, like resentment, bitterness of just being like, come on, like you have no idea what it's like. And then I was like, again, I also don't know what they're going through. Right. And I don't always voice all my things. Everyone of like, I don't have this whole like, well, this is what happened to me today. Like, no, it's like, we're all going through it. So I gave, and in turn, I came out of like having better understanding for people of like, we're all fighting a silent battle. Yeah. And everyone's just doing the best that they can and showing up in the way that they can.
Yeah. Man, if everybody would recognize that, and if I would slow down sometimes to recognize that, and I don't know, I think also motherhood just makes you give people more grace. Like,
totally does.
You're just like, oh, okay, yeah, you were raised by another person, and that is why you are the way that you are. Yes. Or like your mom's probably doing the best that she could too, So I think that it's encouraging to hear you like still have a positive outlook, even not like that you have all the time, but like the ability to be like, this is our life. We're going to live it. It's going to be beautiful. And he's wonderful and he's healthy for all intents and purposes. His case is what it is. And thank God for modern medicine and the things that, y'all have at your disposal. But it's encouraging because there are people that lay down and let it ruin their life. Yeah. You know what I mean? And let it just take over their thoughts and every conversation they talk about. And it's always negative and it's always this. And you're allowed to have negative days and say like, this freaking sucks and I
Yeah.
don't want this.
Mhm.
I don't feel that this is fair. But I do think the way that you carry yourself will empower Paxton
Yeah.
the older he gets, the way
Yeah.
you and Zach talk about it and those kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm living proof of that.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, that was, growing up, we knew you had a fake leg. Remember I told my dad you had a prehistoric leg in like second grade? I'm like, I'm the coolest girl. And
She was trying to say prosthetic and she was like
she's
prehistoric.
And he was like, do you mean prosthetic? And I'm like, that's definitely not what she said.
Yeah, prehistoric.
But I was like, we were like, it was so cool. Like we thought nothing of
Yeah.
it, you know? And it was just like, okay, cool. This is what she has.
No, y'all
like,
definitely didn't slow down long enough to be like,
No.
you're like, get your one leg on and
Literally.
get on. Let's go.
Literally, get on
Which
the,
I
the
appreciate
pool
it.
leg
Oh
and
my
let's
God.
get in the water.
Do you remember the time that I left my swimming leg at Jacob's parents' house?
Uh-huh.
And his dad called me and was like, you just gave me a heart attack.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And he goes, you left your swimming leg in the shower. And I
Yeah.
thought someone was literally in our
He was
shower.
like, what is going on?
Whoops. Whoopsies.
Can't keep up with all my legs.
I know. Okay. So we've talked about all the things and we could literally, it's almost been an hour.
Wow.
We could talk about everything and then some. But I want to know what your favorite memory is from our childhood. And also, I just want to say thank you because you came on here and you shared your story and it's important. And I want people to know you.
Yeah.
Also, 30-year-old you
Mm-hmm.
is very different from 16-year-old you.
So different.
Praise God on my end too,
Yeah.
right? Like, thank God we grew up.
Yeah.
But I think it's just cool to like to watch your life, to watch you, like especially now to be back in closer proximity to you guys is like, I don't know. I'm just happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy you're here.
I'm very happy about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite memory from our growing up?
So it's actually funny because it has to do with your leg.
Shocker.
I know. And it's so funny because Margot actually like put the bow on this yesterday because I was like, you know, this is what it was. But like, so do you remember when we went to, I was going to Fellowship Church and remember we had that like big sleepover in that big room? Do you remember that?
It's all coming back to me. Yes.
And
yeah.
your leg was off and someone walked off. They walked over and they were like, oh my God, is that a leg? Whose leg is that? And we're all over here like, it's her leg. Like, what's it to you? You
Y'all
know?
are about to fight this
You're
kid in
here
church.
like, yeah, like stop
do
talking about her
remember
leg. Like,
this.
you know what I mean? And so I was just like, I loved it because I was just like, that was our relationship.
Mhm.
That was everyone's friendship of like, what is it to you? Like, this is our
y'all
person.
Would never
Don't-
let someone.
we had
bully
each
me for
other's
it.
no, like we had each other's back at all times,
Mhm.
and it was like through and through, like and stuff.
I
And
love
so
that.
when I was telling Margot, I was like, that's like the first thing I thought of when I was like, oh, I know she'll ask me this. And she was like, but that's so perfect because she was like, that's what you hope for Paxton. You hope that he has friends that show up for
Mm.
him, regardless of what he's going
love
through.
that.
And then I'm like, that's so true. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, cause you know, you do get in your head are
Yeah.
they going to love him for who he is? Is he going to be able to find a significant other?
His
like,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, of course he can.
Yeah.
Of course. And you're living proof of that. And it's just, it was so normalized growing up for us. So that was like my
I
first
love
thing
that. I love the way that ties in together too. I never
Yeah.
ever would have thought that was what you were going to say.
I know.
But I love it. And yeah, I mean, I also think like you are the friend that you hope for Paxton. Like you
Yeah.
were such a ride or die friend. Like you were very loyal. You would always like, I think I got my love of running errands from you. I'm like, I'm just gonna bop around
Always
town and just
going
like run in
somewhere.
and out, and
Yes.
I need somebody in the car with me.
Yes,
like literally,
God, I
so
can't do that with
codependent.
just anyone though. Like I can
Call
run
me
errands with
any
Zach.
day,
Like
I
I
will
can
run errands.
do errands with you, Margo, and I run
Yeah.
errands together. But like I have this very few. Like I have made some really great friends since.
Yeah.
But like there was just such a difference,
Mhm,
you
I
know,
know.
and it doesn't match.
No,
Like
It
it's just
never will.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's only a handful of us in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do rapid fire questions.
Oh,
Let me think off the top of my
God.
head. Who's your celebrity crush when you were like 18?
18. It's so hard. I don't have favorites, but I can tell you I went through a brief Sons of Anarchy phase, like after we
Oh.
were friends. And Jax Teller, oh my God. I was
Yes.
like, Zach, oh my God. And then Love is
Just
Island.
get
There was
tattoos and a motorcycle.
literally
yeah.
and call it a day. So it was Jax Teller briefly for that time, probably in my life.
That is actually
Yeah.
hilarious. What is the book you're reading right now?
I just finished a second Harry Potter book.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Are you listening to it or reading
I'm
it?
reading it. I don't think I can. I love listening to a podcast. I don't think I can listen to a book. I haven't tried it though.
I think you're wrong.
yeah,
I think you'd
I
like
can
it.
try it.
I'm gonna give you my Audible.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of books.
Okay.
I only used to. I like was strictly Audible for the longest, and then I got a Kindle, and now I'm obsessed with that.
I love my Kindle.
We read books with Ellie with the Harry Potter books, and we only made it to the third one, and then she was like, "I can't sleep. Like this is giving me nightmares."
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we stopped reading that. What is your favorite thing about Zach?
Oh my gosh, she's so supportive. We like our opposite gender roles at home. Like I'm career driven and everything, but like everything that's like I've accomplished. Like when I got my last promotion, like he cried and I'm like, why are you? I was like, why are you crying? And he's like, I've gotten to watch your whole career and this is like your ultimate goal. And he was like, this is just so amazing. And he's like, you don't realize how amazing you are, but I got to, because he's like, you know, I hear your stories and like, I'm very like, this is what I did wrong. I should have done this. And he's like, you see every side of it and you never make yourself look better in the stories when you're telling me what happened. So he's like, I always knew how great you were. He's like, you just didn't see it. And he was like, so like, that's just like who he is. He's just like he cheers me on. He takes on this like at home of like, he does the laundry for me. Cause I'm like, I can't keep up with the laundry. So he's like, I'll do the laundry. Yeah. So he's just like so supportive.
Your perfect counterpart.
Yeah. And like everyone loves it. It's actually annoying because everyone
he's 100%
Zach.
golden retriever. Like everybody loves Zach.
Yeah.
You can't not love Zach.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's such a good dude.
Yeah.
Well, I love it.
It felt fast.
I know, it was 58 minutes. Like where Dylan's like over there giving me the signal, like, all right, wrap it up. But I love you and I'm thankful for our many, many years of friendship. And I'm thankful for you coming on. And that's all we got for you, folks. Say goodbye to that camera.
Bye.
Goodbye. We love you. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to my mom's podcast, Let's Just Be Real. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, like, follow, rate, and review so you don't miss any of these honest and amazing stories. For all the behind-the-scenes content, go follow my mom at Jordyn Swingle on Instagram. And as always, let's just be real.